Okay, lovely people. So,
I travel alone. Sometimes I'm east, sometimes I'm west. No chains can ever bind me. No remembered love can ever find me. I travel alone. Fair though the places and the faces I've known. When the dream is ended and passion has flown, I travel alone.
Joe enters, looks around, looks over the side, at the sky, contemplates, sits, relax. She enters.
Excuse me, could you tell me the time?
11.
My watch makes it 10:30.
The clocks were put on half an hour last night. We're going east.
I always think it adds to the interest of the voyage, having to put on your watch.
I'm glad you are so easily interested.
The steward will be round with the soup in half an hour. I thought we should have to wait an hour.
I never take it. It interrupts my work.
Why do you work all the time? It's not what one comes on a pleasure cruise for, is it?
Work is my only pleasure.
Oh, that's not good sense. It gives me the pip to see you always sitting there over your writing and never enjoying yourself, nor even taking a drop of soup. You should get up and have a game of deck quoits. You will feel ever so much better after it.
I feel perfectly well, thank you. And I loathe deck games, especially deck quoits. The slapping of those silly things on the deck destroys the quiet of the ship.
Oh, I see. That is why you select this end of the deck. I have often wondered why.
Within the last fortnight, you have inspected the priceless antiquities of Naples, Athens, Egypt, and the Holy Lands. Please, occupy your mind with them until the soup comes.
I never cared much for geography. Where are we now?
We are on the Red Sea.
But it's blue.
What did you expect it to be?
Well, I didn't know what colour the sea might be in these parts. I always thought the Red Sea would be red.
Well, it isn't.
And isn't the Black Sea black?
It's precisely the colour of the sea at Margate.
Oh, I'm so glad you know Margate. There's no place like it in the season, is there?
I don't know. I've never been there.
Oh, you ought to go. You could write a book about it.
Oof.
I wonder why they call it the Red Sea.
Because their fathers did. Why do you call America, America?
Well, because it is America. What else would you call it?
Oh, call it what you like, dear lady. But I have 500 words to write before lunch, and I cannot do that if I talk to you.
Yes, it is awful to have to talk to people, isn't it? Oh, that reminds me. I have something really interesting to tell you. I believe the man in the cabin next to mine beats his wife.
Yes, I feel a little like him myself. Some women would provoke any man to beat them.
I will say this for him, that she always begins it.
No doubt.
I do hate a nagger, don't you?
It is your privilege as a woman to have the last word. Please take it, and don't end all your remarks with a question.
You are funny.
Am I? I never felt less funny in my life.
I can't make you out at all. I'm rather good at making people out as a rule, but I can't make head or tail of you.
I'm not here to be made out. You are not here to make people out, but to revel in the enjoyment you have paid for. Deck tennis, deck quoits, shuffleboard, golf, squash rackets, the swimming pool, the gymnasium. All invite you.
I am no good at games. Besides, they're silly. I'd rather sit and talk.
Well, then for heaven's sake, talk to somebody else. I have no time for talk. I have to work my passage.
What do you mean, work your passage? You are not a sailor.
No, I make a precarious living on board ship by writing the Marco Polo series of chatty guidebooks. Unless I complete 2,000 words a day, I am bankrupt. I cannot complete them if you persist in talking to me.
Do you mean to say you are writing a book about this cruise?
I'm trying to, under great difficulties.
Will I be in it?
Oh, you will.
How thrilling! I've never been put in a book before. You will read me what you have written about me, won't you?
When the book is published, you can read it to your heart's content.
Oh, but I should like you to get me right. After all, what do you know about me? I will tell you the whole of my life if you like.
Great heavens, no. Please don't.
Oh, I don't care who knows it.
Evidently. You would hardly offer to tell it to a perfect stranger if you cared, or if it was of the smallest interest.
Oh, I'd never think of you as a stranger. Here we are, on the same ship, aren't we? And most people would think my life quite a romance. Wouldn't you really like to hear it?
No, I tell you. When I want romances, I invent them for myself.
Oh, well. Perhaps you wouldn't think it very wonderful, but it was a regular treat for me. You may think, because I am well-dressed and travel in deluxe and all that I am an educated lady. But I'm not.
I never supposed for a moment that you were.
But how could you know? How did you find out?
I didn't find out, I knew.
Who told you?
Nobody told me.
Well, how did you know?
How do I know that a parrot is not a bird of paradise?
They're different.
Precisely.
There you are, you see. But what would you take me for if you saw me in a third-class carriage?
I should not notice you.
I bet you would. I mayn't be a beauty, but when I get into a railway carriage, every man in it has a look at me.
I'm not every man. Every man thinks that every woman that steps into a railway carriage may be the right woman, but she is always a disappointment.
Same with women, isn't it? If you were a woman, you'd know.
I am a woman, and you are a man, with a slight difference that doesn't matter, except on special occasions.
Oh, what a thing to say. I never could bring myself to believe that. I know, of course, that men have their weaknesses and their tempers, but all the same, there is something wonderful you can get from a man that you never could get from a woman. Don't you think so?
Inexperienced men think there is something wonderful you can get from a woman that you never could get from a man, hence many unhappy marriages.
Are you married?
Widower. Are you?
Oh, that's the first time you've asked me a question. We're getting on, aren't we?
No, I am not getting on with my work.
You're an intellectual, aren't you?
What do you think you mean by an intellectual?
Only that you consider me no better than an idiot, and that you were a bad husband, most likely.
You are quite right on both points.
I thought so.
And now, please, may I go on with my work?
Please yourself. I'm not hindering you.
Thank you.
What books would you recommend me to read to improve my mind?
Steward!
Oh, you shouldn't trouble the steward now. He's busy getting the soup.
I want him to remove my chair to the very furthest extremity of this ship.
I always say it's freshest under the awning at the end. You don't mind if I move too, do you?
If you persecute me any more, I shall go overboard. Don't you see that I want to be left alone to work and that your chatter is preventing me from working?
It is annoying to have somebody talking to you all the time when you don't want to. But it's just as bad when you want to talk and the other person won't, isn't it?
There are 300 or 400 persons on this ship. Cannot you find one of them with the same insatiable thirst for conversation as yourself?
Well, but we all have to make ourselves agreeable, haven't we?
Not at one another's expense. You are not making yourself agreeable to me at present. You are driving me mad.
My father used to say that men and women are always driving one another mad.
Well, that sounds literary. Was your father a man of letters?
Yes, I should think he was. A postman.
A what?
A postman. A village postman. What is there funny in that?
I don't know. The postman's daughter hath ripe red lips, butter, eggs, and a pound of cheese.
Well, I'm glad I've amused you, but I don't think it's very polite of you to laugh at my father.
You are right. Oh, I was rude. Oh, but a good laugh is worth £100 to me. I feel a different man. Forgive me. You see, you quoted a remark of your father's, almost an epigram, which suggested that he must have been a man of genius.
So he was. He had a genius for walking.
For what?
For walking! When he was a child, he won a prize as the infant pedestrian. And would you believe it? My mother was that indory that she grudged having to go out to do her marketing. After we had the telephone put in, she never went out at all.
Well, that's strange. As she was never out and he was never in, the household should have been a quiet one. But that remark of his about men and women driving one another mad, that rather suggests the opposite.
So it was the opposite. She was always complaining of being lonely, and he was always at her to take more exercise. When they were not quarrelling about that, they were quarrelling about me. You see, they had great plans for me. She wanted me to be a parlourmaid in a great house, and he wanted me to be a telephone operator. He said, "There is no future for great houses and a great future for telephones."
And you? Had you no ambition for yourself?
Oh, I wanted to be something romantic, like an acrobat in the circus.
And what actually happened?
I became shop assistant and telephone operator in the village shop.
Do village shop assistants and telephone girls,
Operators?
pardon, operators, do they earn enough to take cruises round the world in pleasure ships?
Not they. I won first prize in a newspaper competition. My mother wanted me to save it. She said it would help me to get a thrifty husband. But my father told me to blow it all in a lump while I had the chance. "You will be poor all your life," he said. "But now, you have the chance at living at the rate of 5,000 a year for 4 months. Don't miss it," he said. "See what it's like. Have your fling," he said, "for they never can take that away from you once you've had it." His idea was a walking tour, spending the nights in the best hotels. But I chose the ship because it's more dressy and there are more people to look at. Besides, I can get all the walking I want around the deck. At the end of the cruise, back I go to the village shop without a penny.
Have they found out here that you are not a lady?
The Americans don't know the difference. They think my telephone talk is aristocratic, and the English won't speak to anyone anyhow. And lots of them are just like me.
Well, how do you like living at the rate of 5,000 a year? Is it worth it?
It is while the novelty lasts. You see, when you're at home, you get tired of doing the same thing every day, the same places, the same faces, the same old round. When you get a holiday, you go off in a crowded hot excursion train to the seaside and make yourself tired and miserable just because it's a change, and you do anything for a change. But here, it's change all the time. Till you begin to realise what it is to have a settled home and belong somewhere. I shan't be sorry to get home to the shop and the telephone. I get such a dreadful lost dog feeling sometimes. Other times, it seems like a foolish waste of money, and I hate wasting money.
That's an extremely attractive point in your character. My wife used to waste my money. Stick to that and you'll be married in no time.
Oh, I have had plenty of offers. But you know, it's a terrible thing to be a poor man's wife when you have been accustomed to a clean, decent job. I have seen so many bright, jolly girls turned into dirty old drudges through getting married.
Don't be afraid of dirt. Mine is a clean job, but I often wish I had a dirty one to exercise me and keep me in health. Women are so set on clean collars that they make their sons clerks when they would be stronger and earn more money as navvies. I wish I was a navvy instead of writing guidebooks.
Well, what's to prevent you?
I'm not trained to manual work. Half an hour of it would make me wish myself dead, and 5 minutes of my work would produce a strike among the navvies. I'm only a writing machine, just as a navvy is a digging machine.
I don't think the world is rightly arranged. Do you?
We must take the world as we find it. It's we that are not rightly arranged.
That's what I mean. Well, I suppose I mustn't interrupt your work.
You mean that the steward is coming round with the soup at last?
You want to know...
Let's go from don't interrupt, please, and don't interrupt me. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Or you can go from the list, Joe. Whatever.
No, that's fine. Well, there's the same anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Don't interrupt me. You can express your gratitude for the order when I have finished. 1/4 pound of your best butter, small loaf of Hovis, and 2 penny worth of sugared almonds.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Do you sell baskets?
I said everything. Hadn't you better have a string bag? It's handier, and it packs always to nothing when it's empty.
What is a string bag? Show me one.
This is the cheapest, or would you prefer a better quality with zip fastening?
Certainly not. I should have the trouble of opening and shutting it, and the worry of wondering if it would open and shut with no compensatory advantage whatever.
That's just like you. You're not a bit changed.
What do you mean? I've been in this shop less than 2 minutes. Why on earth should I have changed in that time?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned it. Will you take a string bag?
Yes.
Should I pack the rest of the order into it?
Well, of course. What else do you suppose I'm buying it for? Do you have any buttermilk?
Very much.
Is there a thanks very much there?
No.
No, it's just
you
buttermilk.
carry on.
But there will be a gap because I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um,
Sorry,
Sorry, go
we
on.
don't stock it.
Any ginger beer?
Oh, yes, we have a very good liquid brew.
Shove a bottle into the string bag.
Thanks very much.
How many times a day do you say thanks very much?
Depends on the number of orders.
Don't say it to me again if you don't mind. It gets on my nerves.
I used to get on mine at first, but I'm used to it.
Do you have a guidebook to this village?
Sorry. There's a leaflet in the church written by the vicar. You are expected to put 10pence into the box for it. Excuse me, but the chocolates are 10pence, 6pence, or a shilling. Which slice would you run to?
It is a poor heart that never rejoices.
Just a second. So when you point, keep your hand extended. Otherwise, if you put it back, he'll miss it. That's why he doesn't see you in the face, because he just notices the hand. Yeah. Poor heart.
It is a poor heart that never rejoices. I'll have a shilling one.
Thanks very much.
Don't.
Excuse me, I can't help it. I say without thinking, same as if you touched a button.
Ring.
Someone has touched a button.
What number, please? Whitehall, 1212. I will ring you. Whitehall, 2020. That was a police call.
Well, you mean not to point the information at me? I'm not a criminal.
Oh, it isn't criminal. Someone that's been broadcasted over the wireless is lost, you know, sort of thing. Missing from home since January 1st. Last seen in a deck chair on the Empress of Patagonia, talking to a female suffering from loss of memory.
How extraordinary!
Ring.
You are through to Whitehall.
You have hit on an extraordinary coincidence. I wonder if you'll believe me when I tell you that in January last, I was sat on the deck of a ship named the Empress of Patagonia, and that I was talking to a female. Or rather, she was talking to me. Oh, how that woman did talk.
And are you suffering from loss of memory?
Certainly not. I never forget a thing.
Oh, well it can't be you then, can it?
There. Can it? That woman always finished up with can it, won't it, isn't it? So that you had to answer her out of common politeness. Take care that you never pick up that trick, or you will be murdered someday.
Some people are like that. It often goes with hazel-coloured eyes. Do you remember the colour of her eyes?
No, I never notice things like that. I'm not a detective. No, it's people's characters that impress me. I couldn't tell you the colour of her hair or the shape of her nose. But I can tell you she was a most fearful nuisance. How much does that all come to? Well, if you come to that, what becomes of me? You can get another job. I'm very grateful that anyone would give me one. Cannot you be content with the fact that the shop is doing well enough to support 2 people?
Aye, but suppose it had to support 3 people.
Why suppose it hasn't, that is all.
It is not all. If you marry a stranger, then there will be 3. And what about the children?
Well, the solution is simple. I shall not marry.
You don't know.
Neither do you.
Yes, I do. You have married once, you will marry again. You are that sort of man.
If a woman marries...
Somebody will... Ah, that's my fault. Yes, I do. You have married once, you will marry twice. Somebody will snap you up. You are that sort of man.
If a woman snaps me up, she must take the consequences. She will assist in the shop and you will get the...
Oh, you are tiresome. You see my point? At any rate.
No. What point?
Well, that it is really cheaper to keep a wife than to pay an assistant, let alone you don't have to live a single one.
You can get rid of an assistant if she doesn't suit. You can't get rid of a wife.
If people thought that, they'd never get married.
Precisely.
In this life, you have to take your chances.
I have taken them and escaped.
You won't escape here. We don't hold with bachelors here.
You can't do without a general shop here, nor a post office. While I command both, I am an impregnable... Oh, strategic. I am in an impregnable strategic position.
Well, I don't like to say it, but people are beginning to talk.
Beginning? When did they ever stop?
Oh, there's no use talking to you.
Not in this light.
Oh, very well then. Take a month's notice.
A month's notice?
Yes, a month's notice.
A month's notice because I refused to marry some ridiculous village maiden or illiterate widow whom I could not hold a moment's conversation with.
Wives are not for conversation, that's for visitors. You have had plenty of conversations with me.
Yes, well, take yourself out of this conversation if you don't mind.
Very well then, a month's notice.
Say that again. Utter nonsense. What have you to complain of? You're quite well off here. I purposely pay you £10 a year more than you get anywhere else.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why do you pay me £10 more than you could get another assistant for?
Heaven only knows.
Oh, I'll go this very day! I'll go this very minute! You don't know when you're well up, you selfish! You can keep my month! Oh, no wonder your wife died! Did she die mad?
As a matter of fact, she did. I'm one of those poor men who draw the black chances in the lottery of marriage.
I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Honest, I didn't. It was a joke. I would have never said it for the world.
Never mind. I know you didn't mean. By the way, I said something. I said something, Miriam. By the way, I said. By the way, I said something inconsiderate. I made an inconsiderate remark which hurt you. I did not intend that. I should have told you seriously that I pay you £10 a year more than market rate because I value your services in the shop and wish to offer you every intention to stay here permanently.
£10 extra to stay here all my life, a single woman.
Not necessarily. You can get married if you wish.
Who to?
To whom? Oh, anyone.
Anyone in the village is good enough for me, but nobody in the village is good enough for you. Is that it?
Don't lose your temper again.
I will if I like. And if you knew how close I was to throwing in a couple of extra words, you'd realise that a woman wants something more in life than a job and a salary.
I know that perfectly well, thank you. There's one thing we're all out for when we're young.
And what is that, pray?
Trouble. Adventure. Misery, no. Hardship. Care. Doubt. Misery. Danger. Disappointment. Death.
Not me, thank you. All I want is a husband and the usual consequences.
The same thing. Marriage is the village form of all these adventures.
Oh, why can't you take a more cheerful view of life?
I've learnt not to expect too much from life. That's the real secret to cheerfulness. Because I'm always getting agreeable surprises instead of desolating disappointments.
Well, your second marriage may be an agreeable surprise, mayn't it?
What on earth do you mean by my second marriage? I've only been married once. I mean, I have been married only once.
Look here, straight now. Is there any man in this village that would be suitable to me now that I have got used to you?
My dear, men are all alike.
Don't hoo me. There are men, and good, nice men too, that I wouldn't let touch me. But when I saw you on that ship, I said to myself, I could put up with him.
Not at all. You told me just now you said something quite different. I believe what you actually said was much more rapturous. Being rather a futile sort of a man, I attracted vigorous women like you.
When you looked at me out of the corner of your eye, you looked at all women out of the corner of your eye in spite of keeping yourself too much to yourself. Did you never think I could put up with her?
No. I said, damn that woman, she won't stop talking to me and interrupting my work.
Well, I tell you, we were made for one another. It may be as plain to you yet as it is to me, but if it's plain to me, there must be something in it, for I'm never wrong when I see a thing quite plain. I don't believe you ever would have bought this shop or given up being a gentleman if I hadn't been here.
Well, now that you mention it, I believe that is true. You were one of the amenities of the estate.
Well, I may be one of the amenities of the estate of holy matrimony too, mightn't I? That's just what I'm afraid of. If I let you out of my sight for a month, I might find you married to someone else at the end of it. Well, I'm taking no chances. I don't set up to be masterful. I don't like selfish, uppish, domineering people any more than you do. But I must and will have you, and that's all about it.
Well, you already have me as an employer and are independent of me and can leave if you're not satisfied.
How can I be satisfied when I can't lay my hands on you? I worked for you like slave for a month on end, and I would have to work harder for you as your wife than I do now. But there come times when I want to get a hold of you in my arms, every bit of you, and when I do, you'll find that you have more to talk about than the starry heavens, as you call them. You'll find you have senses to gratify, as well as fine things to say.
Senses? You don't know what you're talking about. Look around you. Here in this shop, I have everything that can gratify the senses. Apples, onions, acid drops. Something, something, something. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Acid. Onion, acid. Pepper and mustard. Cozy comforters and hot water bottles. Through the window, I delight my eyes with the old church and the marketplace, built in the days when beauty came naturally through the hands of medieval craftsmen. My ears are filled with delightful sounds, from the cooing of doves to the humming of bees to the wireless echoes of Beethoven and Elgar. My nose can gloat over our sack of fresh lavender or our special sixpenny eau de cologne when the smell of rain on dry earth is denied me. My senses are saturated with satisfactions of all sorts. But when I'm full to the neck with onions and acid drops, when I'm so fed up with medieval architecture that I would rather die than look at another cathedral, when all I desire is rest from sensation, not more of it, what use will my senses be to me if the starry heavens still seem no more than a senseless avalanche of lumps of stone and wisps of gas, if the destiny of man holds out no higher hope to him than the final extinction and annihilation of so miserable a creature?
We don't bother about all of that in the village.
Yes, you do. Our bestseller here is Old Moore's Almanac, and next to it comes Napoleon's Book of Fate. Old Mrs. Ward would never have sold this shop to me if she had not become persuaded that the day of judgment is fixed for the 7th of August next.
I don't believe in all that nonsense. What has it got to do with you and me?
You are inexperienced, you don't know. You are the dupe. You are the dupe of thoughtless words, like sensuality and sensuousness and all the rest of the twaddle of the materialists. I'm not a materialist. I'm a poet. And I know that to hold you in my arms will not gratify my senses at all. As a matter of mere physical sensation, you will find the bodily contacts to which you are looking forward to neither convenient nor decorous.
Don't say that. You mustn't let yourself think about it like that.
You must think about everything, and you must let yourself think about everything, and you must think about them as they are, not as they are talked about. Your second-hand gabble about gratifying my senses is only your virgin innocence. We shall get quite away from the world of senses. We shall light up for one another a lamp in the temple of... Shall light up for one another a lamp in the Holy of Holies in the temple of life, and the lamp will make its veil transparent. Aimless lumps... shameless. Aimless lumps of stone blundering through space will become stars singing in their spheres. Our dull, purposeless village existence will become one irresistible purpose and nothing else. An extraordinary delight and an intense... and in an intense love will seize us. It will last hardly longer than the lightning flash which turns the black night into infinite radiance. It will be dark again before you can clear the light out of your eyes, but you will have seen. And forever after, you will think about what you've seen and not gabble catchwords invented by the wasted virgins that walk in darkness. It is to give ourselves this magic moment that we feel we must and we shall hold one another in our arms. And when that moment comes, there will be... when the world of senses will vanish. And for us, there will be nothing ridiculous, nothing uncomfortable, nothing unclean, nothing. Pure paradise. Hi, I'm Joe Sargent, and I play the character A.
I'm Marianne O'Brien, and I play Zed. I love her enthusiasm, her bravery. She knows what she wants, and she goes out and she gets it. She's so committed.
I really like that A is basically a bit of an enigma, and he's almost the anti-romantic hero in a lot of ways. He's not the archetypal romantic lead, and I like that. I think there's a lot of cynicism from Shaw about the typical romantic view of love and marriage, especially in relationships in general, but essentially that most of us just want to be happy whether we realise it or not, and it's how different people strive for that happiness in a relationship.
And of course, you know, the battle of the sexes,
Yeah.
the differences, and there's class differences as well.
Yes.
But I think interestingly, despite all those differences that are highlighted, and their completely different personalities, they do have an awful lot that binds them still,
Yeah.
and that connects them.
A lot more similarities than differences, whether they realise it or not, I think.
This is the third time that I have the honour of playing Zed, so I'm really excited. I love her. I can't wait to get back in the room, rehearse her again, and yeah, then get the show on the road and just share it with as many people as possible. I've played a couple of Shafian ladies, Major Barbara and Hypatia, and a couple of others as well. But yeah, I love Zed. She's my favourite.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting under the skin of A again, because as I said, the man is a bit of an enigma. I mean, I really struggled, didn't I, first time round.
It's complex.
Very complex, and what I'm really excited about is every time I perform this piece, I think I seem to understand the man more, which is great as an actor. It never feels stale for me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back on stage with him.
I love. Is your father a man of letters? Yes, a postman.
Yeah. I think my favourite gun to my head is probably I am a woman and you are a man with a slight difference that doesn't matter except on special occasions. Come and see us in Village Wooing throughout July and August.
Visit shoresociety.org.uk for details.